Hello everyone, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host, Prince Magnum. Welcome to another episode of Surviving Romance. In this particular episode of Surviving Romance, there's a lot of things kind of coming together to make this particular video happen. And let me explain. For those that do not know, I'm actually a member of a couple of different groups right here on YouTube that have spanned into other social media, Facebook and Zoom and things like that. Just, wonderful groups that do their part in supporting each other, and that even includes the Prince Magnum channel. One of the groups is a group known as the Eclipse. And my dear friends within the Eclipse have decided they want to do a cooking collab. They sat down and decided, what ingredients that you have to use for this particular video. So when I heard what they were wanting to do, I said, yeah, I'll jump in. Let's have some fun. After all, why not? Show off what we can do right here on the Prince Magnum channel. And what is it that we're looking at doing? Well, the members of the Eclipse have decided that you have to cook these three ingredients. It has to be chicken, broccoli, and pasta, somewhere in in that meal. Sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? Well, here's the thing. Prince Magnum has always been known for, believe it or not, the one and done meal. Basically, you kind of make it all together and everything like that. Well, this brings the next part of this. Well, the next part of this is Princess Faye. She likes those big dinners, where you have your meat over here, you got your veggies, you might have a pasta or something like that, you have a couple of sides. There's big dinners like that. And we haven't done one like that in a while. Actually, I don't think we've ever filmed something like that here on the channel. But because of that, Princess Faye more or less said that's what she would like to do. So now there's the second part of what's going to make this video. And last but not least, my dear friends within the Sunnies have said, we want to see some awesome editing skills. So, because of that, here we are, doing exactly what you're about to see in this video. Now, you're going to see a lot of editing, you're going to see a lot of amazing stuff that's going to make this whole video happen, and I hope y'all enjoy it. But we're going to see how this goes from here. So, from here, I got to go down to the grocery store, and I have to pick up the chicken and the broccoli and things like that. When we come back, we're going to start in very proper-like. Alright folks, now after our trip to the grocery store, one of the first things that we need to talk about, food safety. Let's face facts, food can make you sick, can make you very sick. And when you start talking about things like, meat, it can make you very, very sick. And when you start talking about things like, say, chicken, it can make you deathly sick. Does the word salmonella mean anything to anybody? Well, because of that, it makes sense that the moment you get home, you need to decide how you're going to keep your cold food cold. Now, if you plan on using this right away, within, say, the next 4 days, the refrigerator is just fine. But if you don't plan on using it, before that time, you might want to consider putting it in the freezer. So we have our frozen broccoli, which we're going to need thawed out, and it'll be fine for a few days in the top of the refrigerator, just like you're going to see me do. You can easily put it right up here. But the chicken, you want it in the coldest part of your refrigerator. Where's that going to be? Bottom shelf, or even better yet, crisper drawer on the very bottom. Remember folks, food can make you sick, so be safe. Keep cold food cold, keep hot food hot, especially when you're dealing with chicken, because the last thing I would hate to hear happen to any one of you who tried what you're about to see done here on the Prince Magnum channel is to see you get sick. So do me a favor, be extra careful out there. Alright folks, as best as I can show you with the camera setup that I have, the camera's amazing, but the armature that we use to hold the camera in position isn't exactly being cooperative today. Alright, on our agenda, if you will, for this collab, what we are going to be doing is we've been challenged to do pasta, chicken, and broccoli. We have to make some sort of a meal out of this. Now, it could be a one, as I mentioned earlier, it can be a one and done, or it can be, a full course dinner. They really, this is one of these things, kind of give it a little free reign, as long as you use the main ingredients and you have it uploaded within a certain time frame. Well, that being said, let's talk about the broccoli. We could have done fresh. Fresh would have been just fine. Absolutely just fine. But I decided to go ahead and go with something that keeps in your refrigerator just fine, which y'all briefly seen that in the last clip. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be taking this frozen broccoli, which we have thawed, and we're going to drain it, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it in this steaming device that Princess Faye picked up for me a little while back. It does a great job at steaming vegetables. It also does a great job with rice, even though I'm still learning that part with it, but it does do a good job. So, because of the fact that normally I prefer to just do this on the cooktop, this device is going to be very helpful because, as you can tell, behind me here, there is several things that we're going to be cooking all at once on the cooktop. So, it just makes sense to employ yet another device that'll make it a little bit easier, because even though in a modern kitchen you can cook multiple things just like you see right here all at once, it just makes sense, if you can, to go ahead and get out another device, kind of so you're not using the entire cooktop. At some point you might be overdoing it just a little bit. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and cut the top off of this. And we're going to go ahead and just put it all in here, right like this. No big deal. Our steamer is going very nicely. We're just going to let that, we're going to come back and check on it every now and again until it's cooked to our liking. Now, to go along with this steamed broccoli and cheese. We all love it. And normally at this point in time, I would recommend a bechamel cheese sauce of some sort. Well, at some point, I might be overdoing it a little bit. So it makes sense that the next step is to go ahead and get something convenient. And the convenient will be your nacho cheddar cheese right over the top of our steamed broccoli. And if we want to add anything to the top of that, we more than can. Fresh ground black pepper, maybe even a little bit of cayenne pepper, kind of kick it up a notch. So that is the broccoli part of this full meal. Alright folks, broccoli's going good, it's working great. Off over here, you notice that I have a great big pot, and this is definitely for the pasta portion of this video. Let's talk about pasta for a brief moment. We've reviewed this several times here on the Prince Magnum channel, and this time will be no different. Now, we try to keep several different pastas available to us. And the pastas that we usually keep on hand is some sort of a tube pasta like penne rigate or cazzetti. This is absolutely perfect for, say, like macaroni and cheese, where you need the sauce to get inside of the tubes and adds a little bit more to it. It's also perfect for tomato sauces. Absolutely wonderful for that. Along with that, we also keep for like pasta salads and things like that. Rotini goes a long ways. So some sort of spiral pasta. Along with that, no homemade chicken and noodle soup is complete without egg noodles. Perfect to keep around the kitchen. And we have reviewed it from time to time here on the channel. Ramen noodles. Okay? So those are the main ones that we have done, and we have done what we're going to use again today. This will be no different. Good old Durham wheat spaghetti. Now, when people think of spaghetti, they automatically think spaghetti and meatballs, and they usually cake on some heavy tomato sauce. Well, if you were to go over to Italy, they'd think you'd lost your mind, because that's not what it's designed for. It was designed to be rolled with olive oil and maybe have some cheese added to it, things of that nature. What we do here in the United States is not how it's evidently supposed to be done. So we're going to be sticking to that. Ironically enough, we've done that numerous times here on the channel, so this time will be no different. So I've got a pot of water coming up to a boil, and we're going to do as we have done numerous times in the past. I'm going to add in some pink Himalayan salt, and just basically make the water as close to what I have always considered the flavor of seawater, which, depending on your water and where you live and everything like that, might be a little bit different for each and every one of you. Now, why are we doing this now? Why not add salt to taste afterwards? Well, that's the funny thing. Pasta, like these types of pastas, you have to salt them during the cooking process like this. Now, otherwise, you're not going to be able to season them properly anytime after that. The salt or anything else will just bounce right off. Also, please note, I didn't bother to put oil on the top. For some reason, people have always thought that prevents boilovers. It doesn't prevent boilovers as much as they think it does. And honestly, it's kind of a waste of oil. The best time that this is going to be needing oil is sometime right as soon as it hits the bowl and we go to add in the other ingredients. We'll get to that in here in just a bit. So in the meantime, we've got our pot of water coming up to a boil, and we'll add the pasta in shortly after that. Alright folks, our pot of water is finally somewhat to a boil. Took us a little while, but again, we're dealing with an electric stove. With a gas stove, it's a lot quicker. So, because of the fact that we're now at this point, it's time for our spaghetti noodles. Now, again, if you're not familiar with how we do spaghetti here on the channel, it is very, very traditional. What people will immediately do is almost would send an Italian into a coronary. Immediately, one of the things that most Americans do is they grab hold of it and they snap it. Don't do that. Food doesn't like violence. Okay? So, what we're going to do is very, very carefully, because I've had this actually go wrong before, we're going to gently lay the spaghetti down into the water, right like that. Okay? Don't get crazy like that. Just gently. And try to fan it out as best as you can. Perfectly okay. Now, immediately, one of the first things that we're going to try to do, we're going to grab a slotted spoon, just like this. We're going to gently start working it down into the water. Don't force it, but gently. Okay? Very, very gently. Just pushing it down, ever so easy into the water. Just like that. Then you might have to adjust the temperature. But once everything is pretty well submerged and you're happy with it, clamp on your lid, turn down your heat just a little bit. But don't wander very far, because it wouldn't take much for this to go into a boil. And then a boil over. So keep an eye on things. Last thing you want is a boil over. It can get messy. Pretty happy with that, except for that one that just doesn't want to go down. Don't cook me! Get in there. Alrighty, as I said, clamp on the lid. Now, from here, the next thing that we're going to begin doing is right over here, we're going to go ahead and start cooking, doing our pan fry to our chicken tenders. Now, what I will do is I'm going to go ahead and gently just lay it down in some all-purpose flour. Some all-purpose flour. I'm going to lay this gently down in some all-purpose flour. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and start cooking up our chicken tenders. We're going to start laying these down in all-purpose flour. With the cayenne on there, it'll kick flavor up quite a bit. And the flour will then kind of act as like a barrier to keep the cayenne pepper from burning, which that is a thing. Once we get it in there, get it all coated up, be sure to shake off any excess flour. You don't want it sticking, because then that'll burn inside the pan making the food taste nasty. So I wouldn't go any more than 2, 3 at a time. And after a little bit, you'll actually turn them. Okay? Again, this hand was touching raw chicken. So do me a favor. Wash those chickeny hands. Alright. So now we're at that stage where we can give it the turn. Okay? Chicken tenders don't take that long. Okay? It just doesn't take that long. It's just the way, it's just the nature of chicken tenders. So watch it close. When it turns a nice color of white on the outside, you'll know what that looks like right away. Immediately give it the turn. Now, because we've used cayenne pepper on this, at some points, the meat will actually look darker. It's not that it's burnt, it's just the nature of cayenne pepper. So, again, we're back to where we did a little bit of flavoring, and we didn't have to have USDA approved special, injected stuff. Folks, if you can put the flavor in yourself, take the time and do it. And here in just a moment, the first round of chicken tenders will be ready. So, it doesn't take that long, and we've got a lot more to go yet. Alright folks, our pasta is done, okay? How do you know? How do you know? By tasting it. It will stand out. Taste it. If it feels like it's got too much crunch, it's okay. Let it cook a little bit longer. But you don't want to go past that point where your teeth still has a little something to get a hold of. Do yourself a favor. When you get to that point where just enough, what a lot of people will call al dente, do yourself a favor. Get that dang thing, basically get it off the heat. So we're now actually at that stage where I gave it its taste test. And pretty happy with it. I like the flavor, the right texture. It's perfect. So over here I've got a colander. When you go to pour this in the colander, do yourself a favor. Be extra careful. Now, unless you plan to refrigerate, do yourself a favor. Be careful, okay? Don't rinse it right away. Let it drain thoroughly. Give it a shake while it's over here. You're just fine. We'll add this into a nice glass bowl, or even, well, glass would be the best, but metal would be all right. Our pasta is perfectly done. And, ironically enough, our broccoli is done too. All we gotta do is finish up the last of our chicken tenders. Alright folks, I purposely moved the camera like this because it's going to start making sense here in just a moment. I've got a couple of plates here, along with a couple of nice looking forks, and a couple of bowls. Alright, and again, when it comes to doing nice dinners, things like that for your other half, take the time. Okay, off over here, I'm going to grab out really nice extra virgin olive oil. No heavy sauces needed for our spaghetti. Besides, it would just ruin the flavor. So we're going to move this spoon out of the way, and then we're going to take some garlic. About 6 cloves of garlic, crushed and chopped fine. Smells amazing. I know I keep doing that to y'all right here on the channel, but one of these days we'll get that smell-o-vision worked out here on the Prince Magnum channel. And then to go with that, we're going to add in some extra virgin olive oil. This is definitely the time to break out the good stuff. And don't skimp on it. Then we're going to stir that around, just like that. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Get everything coated up like a new car shine. And don't worry, there's plenty enough heat in here to cook our garlic thoroughly. Nice, tantalizing new car shine right on our pasta. But what would make this even better? Freshly grated Parmesan cheese. While we're at it, let's go ahead and get out the black pepper. Freshly ground, of course. Then we'll grab Princess Faye's bowl. Start laying on that goodness. Be sure to get bits of the garlic in there if you can. If you got extra spring-loaded tongs, now would also be a great time to break them out. I need to get another set. Alright, a little bit of Parmesan cheese right on the top, just like that. And a few grinds of fresh ground black pepper. How amazing is that? First part of her plate is all done. Let's get her a couple of chicken tenders. Thinking about 3 of them to start. Then, whatever your favorite dipping sauce. Princess Faye, it's usually just regular old ranch. Nothing wrong with that. Or you can make yourself a homemade honey mustard. Nothing wrong with that. Or one of my favorites, hot sauce. Set that down right like that. Let's come over here and grab our steamed broccoli. Get a bunch of it, okay? Lay it out. I like that. Presentation can sometimes be everything when you're making it a dinner like this. So, just like that. Now that actually looks like something, but I haven't forgotten. And this is plenty warm enough, so you won't have to worry a whole lot. So you pop your top on your nacho cheese. Pour on the goodness. I like that. Just a little bit, or as a lot as you want. There you go. A meal perfect for my beautiful wife. Not bad. So there you have it. Of course, I still have to set up my plate. Alright, there you go, folks. another one to the books. Before we go any further, I want to take a moment and thank these fine folks right here. Damn, that is a lot of you. That's a lot of you that have urged me to continue to move forward and do what I do here on the Prince Magnum channel. I want to thank you all so much for, continuing to support me and to urge me to put out the best possible content that I possibly can. So that does bring us to our usual stopping point. And before we let out in this video, I'd like to take a moment and if you're not subscribed to the Prince Magnum channel, you might want to consider doing so. We try to upload content like this, go live several times throughout the week. So if you hit that subscribe button and ding that bell, you'll be notified every time. Hopefully. YouTube has its moments. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to smash that like button. Along with that, as usual, get out there and work on a project. I don't care what it is, just do something with yourself. Remember, idle hands and a creative mind go together like oil and water. If you have a sweetheart, sweep them off their feet and do something special for them today. And as always, for every last one of you out there, if no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.